Hello, Legally Naiya squad. Legally Naiya. Legally Naiya. I feel like I have not said that with a lot of energy in such a long time. Right now, this is a bar prep vlog, and you guys are gonna see me be a bar coach today. The bar is so much closer right now, and I just try to do everything I can for my students. Like every day, I'm up thinking about how they can improve, how they can get better. And it's so funny because every student has like different areas that they struggle with. But at this point, I don't even think any of my students are truly struggling. They know how to fix their errors, and it's just about refinement. This is a refinement stage for us. No one's completely lost. Even my student who came the latest, we had a talk, and she fully understands everything now. She's able to write an essay in 60 minutes. She's able to do MBE, and she's able to work on and practice for multiple choice. Right now, every student I have is basically in the refinement and review stage. This is a very important stage in bar prep because I want most people to enter the bar with no holes and no fears. I made sure that every student who came to me practiced every side of this test, and I feel like they finally see the benefit because right now some people are probably freaking out about Florida multiple choice, but they've been doing this. So they have time to keep balancing out all three areas while still targeting whatever they want to get better at or just make their scores go from passing to But like I tell them, they officially learned how to retain all the information. But I tell them that right now, the biggest part is accountability within themselves to recall everything daily in a way that we discuss. That way they're touching all the material Monday throughout the whole week and they're practicing it. We've got the information in their head, but now it's just about, are you following the strategy? And some of my students have learned when they went against the strategy, they're like, oh my gosh, my scores have dipped after scoring this, and this. I'm like, well, have you neglected the subject? And then they'll be honest. And it's like, okay, as a coach, it's like I taught you how to retain, taught you how to get better, taught you how to do everything. But this part is where me and students really share the responsibility. Me just mainly being an accountability coach now and being like, hey, don't stop touching that because that's how you can lose this exam. But everybody is now just reviewing and refining, and I'm so happy that all my students are literally in a refinement stage, just getting better. And that's all I could have asked of the bar coach. Me, they probably were afraid in the beginning when they came to me and they seen everything we did as a lot of work, but every week they quickly adjusted, and literally we never had the same problem again. We would address things, we would move on, and then it'll be a different issue. And that is my point as a coach. Every student, as you get deeper and deeper into bar prep, you're always gonna have a new area to discover, a new thing to refine, and that's the burden I try to take off. But the other part is, the students working with you and actually doing the strategy, waking up every day. And I feel like as a bar coach, how can you guarantee results when somebody could just stop working? And it's not that your methods didn't work, because you'll look at their scores from before and everything will be good. So it's like, that's why I always say, can't guarantee the bar for people, because it's really about how much effort are you willing to put in every day and wake up and do it. If you ask anybody who took the bar prep is a very draining process. And there's many stories I have of friends who would be like, bro, 2 weeks before the bar, I stopped doing MBE because I wanted to focus on Florida because I was behind. And then I passed Florida and failed MBE. And I tell that to my students all the time. You want to keep balancing all three until test day. Right now, we're mainly in simulating mode, from essays to MBE to Florida multiple choice. And we are 18 days to the bar. Basically, 25 days out of this exam, most of my students, if not all of my students, well, all because they all been practicing all three areas with me, but the people who came to me earlier, they've seen the material multiple times. And that's just helping their scores strengthen right now. People came to me later, even though they came later, their scores are pretty where they need to be. And now they just have a lot of this independent study to really lock in even more and refine a little bit more. But nothing is new to them. They know their subjects based on already seeing it through me, us going over it, us practicing it, them finally getting to the video part of it. And that just probably filled in more gaps. So whatever they're not naturally doing better at now, we have our ways to refine, because I am constantly thinking about how to refine and how to get better. So, oh my gosh, it's 7:55, the meeting's in 5 minutes. We need to go out there, guys. Just know it's a refine and review period. And see y'all at the table.
Struggling. They don't love me anyway. They don't love me anyway.
Okay, everybody, I just got out of my meeting, and it's crazy because it's so funny. This is how bar prep coaching goes. Every time you implement something new, always feel the anxiety of your student. And then you come back next week and they'll be like, oh, that was easy. Now they're performing at a maximum place. And so, yeah, today was implementing something new closer to test day, just because, like I said, every student that comes through me, nothing's gonna be a surprise on bar day. Like, we've made sure to simulate 100 questions for the multiple choice. We've made sure to simulate 200 questions MBE. We've made sure to do 3 hours of the essay. So I know that in a certain way, they might be like, oh my gosh, Naiya, you're crazy. But at the same time, I make sure that nothing feels new on bar day. I would rather you feel like coaching was harder with me than your test day. And I'm gonna stand on that because I feel like you gotta push people, and get them to be efficient, good scores, in a good place. And then it's always better to have a more challenging prep than test day. That doesn't mean that I'm like doing ridiculous things, but I'm making sure, like I said, that every student has practiced the test and for full multiple choice variations of what I believe it could most likely be, even though they practice everything every day. But you know, I'm a pattern person. I see what subjects are typically grouped together, what typically goes on. So I just feel like the more familiar a person is, if we've tested that way before, they might have a sense of confidence when they see that on the exam. So I'm all about instilling confidence into people, and I just hope that after all this, a person can literally come to me and be like, oh my gosh, this felt like my bar prep. So it's definitely eye-opening because I feel like people have the wrong idea of bar prep. People think that if you start early, down the line, like, oh, bar prep can get lighter. Like, I think people think that early start or starting early or learning the law in the beginning means like down the line, bar prep will feel lighter. And bar prep will feel lighter in the sense that you're not learning anything anymore. But I feel like it feels heavier to people because doing simulated times, that's like 3 hours of writing an essay or 1 hour of writing an essay, recalling your rules still. It's like practice is now mixed with reviewing. And that can make it longer reviewing things. Like, say you do 50 questions and reviewing 50 questions. First of all, doing 50 questions, how long that takes, an hour, 30 minutes. And then reviewing that, how long does that take you? And then you have to go still write an essay. If say you write 2 essays, that's 2 hours. And then reviewing that, and then you have to do full multiple choice. That is a heavy practice day. And I feel like people feel like, you know, in the end, it gets lighter, which a couple days before the bar, it'll probably be lighter. But being like 18 days out is still practice. If anything, it's more practice. It's more now like, you know, now let's do 100 questions of multiple choice. Now let's do a simulated MBE. Now let's do timed essays. So yeah, because it's like, if I'm not making you do that, when are you gonna do it for the first time on the test? No. But it's what people don't realize is it's harder to simulate those conditions when a person was still first learning everything. And then when you realize they know it, now you increase the questions. You try to give them like, okay, little simulations throughout their month so that they can feel prepared. And then, but then there's always something else to learn. Once people get through MB, they're like, well, I finally got better essays. Okay, now I finally got better fluent choice. Now I have to keep testing everything. So, you know, I realized like, okay, say somebody comes to me and they don't know MBE and they feel better at essays. Okay, we teach them MBE, they get MBE right. They keep working on their essays, they find more holes that they need to improve on. Everyone always needs to improve. Okay, now while they focus on MBE, they're still writing an essay and then they're practicing for multiple choice. But most of their brain is going to MBE because that's what they're afraid of. Then when they're comfortable with MBE, then they'll be like, oh my gosh, now I noticed this in my essays, and they're focused on that, and then they're doing MBE and essays. But some people will drop MBE a little bit and do only focus on essays, but you're supposed to keep doing both. And then you get a full multiple choice, you're like, oh my gosh, I was kind of doing fluent choice on the back burner, but now I realize this is just as important and I'm gonna get more of my attention to this, but now they're dropping MBE and essays. So it's like, I feel like people think it gets lighter towards the end, and it doesn't. It gets heavier. It gets heavier, guys, because a person's not able to let you simulate in the beginning because you're learning. Most students who come to you have to put the information back in their head. And this is what schools get confused. They feel like, oh, let's just start testing you. You should be able to answer towards questions and get a passing score. You should be able to get con law and get a passing score. But what they don't realize is you got to re-implement that learning into a person, and you can't just test without them understanding. So I have to go back and get the understanding and then get to testing. So I give them the understanding and then I make them practice a little bit with it. They're always practicing, always doing more, but it's hard to do full on simulated when a person just gets the areas. So, you know, I've always made them practice. They've always been exposed to everything, but like now we have like 18 days left as of today. And this is when it's like, okay, you've been through Florida, you've practiced it. You've already been simulating MBE. They've already been simulating essays. Now we just got to simulate all three. And I know my students might feel like it's draining because it's like, bro, MBE's a heavy day, essay's a heavy day. But it's like, this is the exam and you weren't able to do it earlier because you were learning. So this is why I tell people to do early start. This is why I tell people to do bar prep before bar prep, because I could see the holes of this exam. And so many people are like, oh no, like you could just enter bar prep. But like I said, as somebody who's been through it, as somebody who sees different schools and students from different schools, every school assumes on some level that you already know towards. You already know contracts. They don't feel like they have to reteach you the law. They just feel like they have to give you practice questions and you're going to automatically get it right. And that's why I had to come back and make sure I find ways for the people to retain the information, learn the information, understand the information, refine the information while practicing at the same time. But fully simulating is still so different than practicing. And that's why even while when I realized somebody would catch MBE, they'll get it. Okay, now we'll simulate that. I started simulating the moment they understood it. Okay, now you got your essays. Okay, now it's time to increase the essays. So I've been doing that, but doing everything full blown at once, I feel like, that could be heavy. I understand where my students are coming from. At the end of the day, it's a lot. But I want to make sure testing conditions are present. I want to make sure that if you feel like it's draining with me doing a full MBA day and then writing essays 3 before that and full multiple choice, that's exactly how you're going to feel on exam day. So I would rather students get that through me before an exam versus feeling that for the first time on an exam, but I could understand how it could feel heavy still. But I'm pretty sure after next week, once we go through this, the good thing is I made all of them build their full multiple choice rule bank already. They've already been through every subject. Now they could just practice and look over their rules that they already have. And I'm pretty sure their scores are gonna jump. It's happened. Even one of my later students who came to me, they told me, we were like, listen, we're taking a risk right here. But they were like, I know, but I'm scared of MBE. In 1 week, they were having passing scores in MBE because I know the methods to help people understand. Like I was just a law student. I had to figure out my bar on my own being a February taker about how to get better, what strategies to improve. And just in 1 week, she got good at MBE. And now they understand how to write an essay in 60 minutes closed book because they weren't doing that until they came to me. So it's be like people got to realize there's a lot of holes I'm fixing for people's study habits. And that's why the people coming to me earlier have the best advantage. But honestly, my students who came to me later can fully do MBE now, can write an essay, and can do Florida multiple choice. Like they've seen it all, they're practicing it all, and they're still practicing till now. It's just we're simulating now. And like I said, I can understand how it feels heavy because I do think a lot of students have this conception of, okay, if I started early or okay, my scores are balanced, like now I can chill. And I'm like, oh, quite the contrary, my friend. We're about to do 100 questions of Florida multiple choice. Sit. We're about to do 6 hours of a simulated exam one day of this week of MBE. We're about to do 3 essays back to back at some point, yes. And that's already happened. People have written 3 essays already. They've done more than one simulated for MBE. They've practiced through Florida and questions and seen everything. And now it's just doing 100 questions now throughout their week. So I could understand, like I said, how this could be draining. I just think it's because the misconception is closer to bar day, which at some point, like maybe like that week of the bar, everything is lighter, but leading to it, I need to know that you've tested everything. And that's just my security as a coach to make sure I know if you've seen everything, you've practiced everything, you've seen variations of the test. MBE, when you do a simulated, that's how it's going to feel. Essays, when you see random 3 essays, that's how it's going to feel. For multiple choice, I feel like people don't really get to test that one out. And I can understand how my students are like, well, I just wanted to relax now, but I'm like, but I want to give you variations so that you can see it before you see it on test day. So, it's just about those 18 days, like this week pushing and doing that and getting all the variations out the way. And then, maybe that week of the bar, we relax a little more, but leading to that real moment, I feel like gotta simulate everything at least once you've seen it or twice. And okay. And you're not doing that every day. You're not writing 3 essays every day. You're not doing 200 MBE every day, but at least one out of the week, you've done a simulated for any variation of the test. I think that's fair. There's 7 days in a week, 6 if a person takes Sunday off. And 3 of those days is 1 is heavy essays, 1 is heavy MBE, 1 is heavy Florida multiple choice, and then you go lighter for the other subjects that day. You might just review MBE, do questions a little bit, and write 1 essay on a heavier day, I can understand how that could still feel heavy, but guys, you want to keep all this stuff out, and then the other 3-4 days is just your average regular MBE day. You could space that in between. Or in your regular essay day, you could write 1. So I don't know, I just feel like 3 days out of your your week, it's okay to feel that fire. Because if a person's telling me they're drained from that simulated, or they mentally feel like they gave out after question 60 or question 70, then yes, I believe I need to give you another simulated, because I gotta break that. And every student is different, and that's why as a bar coach, I look at people's habits. You'll have one student and they could sit there for the 100 and they can go strong. So, okay, maybe you could just be like, okay, you don't have to do a full simulated for that subject. We'll just make sure you do 100 questions once a week. And you've already simulated before and you keep scoring well, so okay. But I see you're weaker in essays, so we might need to do at least 3 essays at some point more frequently. All I do is catch people's holes. And I feel like that's why it can be annoying as a bar coach, because it's like, oh my gosh, this person doesn't let up. But I'm not letting up on your holes, because those are fixing things. And in the end, it's funny because every time somebody's had holes and then, they had to grind it out, they'll come back and they're like, oh yeah, no, like that's easy now. And I'm like, we were stressed out for that period of time, because of course I want you to succeed, but it's always good when they come back after and then they're comfortable and they're like, oh yeah, that wasn't as crazy as I thought. And so as a coach, I already understand that when somebody does something for the first time, they're scared. And then after that, they're like, oh, that was nothing. So, I'm okay with that. That's how I know everything's working. Like I said, I've never heard a student come to me with the same problem twice. Never. For every student, no student has ever came to me with the same issue. We've always addressed the issue. We've always discovered new ones. And that's why people don't realize you can keep fixing holes till bar day. Like, yes, because you could have passing scores in every subject, but you could be real like, bro, I notice in Wills, every time it's this, I struggle at that. Now I'm going to figure out how to not struggle at that. Like, I'm always going to try to refine a person till the test. So it's not nitpicking. It's me just making sure I'm maximizing your study. I'm shrinking your holes as much as I can, and I'm getting you to be the best testing performance of yourself. And, as a bar coach, it get real sometimes. So I'm proud of them when they stick it through. We talk about it all the time. They're like, bro, this is a crazy test. And I'm like, yes. And that's why I always tell people, I think the bar was under stressed, under emphasized, in the sense of like, oh yeah, everybody hears of the bar, but nobody tells you that how much it takes to balance. Nobody tells you the strategies on how to balance. Nobody tells you that they expect you to come into this thing already knowing every Florida multiple choice subject of Wills, Trust, Evidence, Florida Civ, Florida Crim. They're thinking they're just going from a practice standpoint and the videos are reviewed. Whole time you got people who never took subjects in their life. Whole time you got people who's like, I never reviewed tort since 1L year. They don't realize nobody's really going through law school really reviewing this stuff. But how schools see it is like, well, who told you to do that? And that's fair. But I just feel like I'm in the reality of it. Like, instead of being like, well, who's students, schools, because schools are missing some things too. Instead, I just see it as, okay, I know schools are missing this. I know students are missing this. I'm trying to give you the best of both worlds. Because some schools don't simulate as much as other schools. And that's very important for testing performance. When students come to me and their schools don't simulate like that, I'm the one who now has to think about how to incorporate simulating into their schedule, when really I feel like that's the school's job. So I'm just basically figuring out the holes of the person's school they go to and my student and putting it together. Makes my job a little harder, but at the same time, it's doable, and it's something I just have to keep in mind. If a student goes to one school, I know they simulate near weekly, monthly, okay, we can focus more on the practice, the retaining, the knowledge, how to improve on test day. Your school can do the simulating. When the school doesn't do any simulating, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm literally doing the getting them to learn it, the getting them to retain, the getting them to practice, and the simulations. So I realize now I probably need to make people write down on paper what school they go to, because I now know based on students what schools do what. So it's a good experience having people from different schools. But yeah, but we're gonna have a good bar coaching next week. I already know once people go through it. I would just say, guys, the most important thing though right now is that you keep practicing and reviewing. This is a test of practice and review. At some point, you have to know that you're able to sit down for the 6 hours. Do you know all the laws that it will be tested? And can you simulate it before test day? And have you seen everything? And that is a heavy job as a bar coach. But like I said, the earlier a person comes, the more we can do that. And I'm talking about early start be starting like 2 months before official bar prep. Early start will open in the official bar prep program. I would say most people don't do that. The con of it is closer to test day when I'm trying to simulate more, they're still like in the crunch of the bar. I got them to be more ahead as much as I could be, and their scores are at least at a decent place than people who don't have a coach, and then they're just like really in the dark. At least I get them to decent scores, passing scores all across the board. But then I'm like, I find simulating just as important, and I want to simulate more. If anything, I would want to simulate the most. So yeah, so if you come to me during your early start when it first opens, instead of the last 2 weeks doing all 3, even though like I said, we've been simulating MBE and essays, we could have 4 weeks of stretching that out, doing more exams, just more time. So this is why I keep it real with y'all on here. So yeah, because that's the limitation you're giving me. But I can happily say that even if somebody started on time or came to me later, we've practiced every aspect of the test, but I've wanted to simulate more. So that's just a limitation I feel like is given to me. Like, okay, we can get through all the practice. I can get you to touch all the material. I can get you to see the material and understand it. But I want to train you for the test as well, consistently. So yeah, this is the end of today's video, guys. Make sure you're practicing and reviewing and keep simulating. Legally, Naiya. Legally, Naiya. But as a coach, I just want to genuinely thank the schools who simulate these exams, who give students the best chance of failing the test because, bro, somebody could have all the knowledge, but they're not a test taker and they got to get used to that test feeling. There's just so many variables that go into this, and like every student is different and every student needs different things, and just by keep offering the test, you will help people get out their quirks. As schools, I just hope to encourage you guys to give more simulated exams so students can review. Bar day is coming soon. See y'all soon. Legally Naiya, legally Naiya.